I want to take a quick second to talk to anybody watching this that's interested in starting a government contracting business or starting a new profession in government contracting. The students that graduate our program, they go on to start their own consulting firms, winning high dollar consulting clients. They go on to land high paying salaried positions as account executives with companies that sell to the government. I'm so proud of the people that have gone through our program. And if you are considering either a job or a business, and by the way, some of our students are doing both, as I did. They're running a consulting business and they'll have an account executive job. It's transforming their lives. It's bringing true wealth to them and their families. Back to the video. All right. How's everyone doing today? Today, we are going to be talking about how you reverse engineer the success a company's already had in government contracting so you can follow the exact same steps. Now, why would you want to do this? There are a lot of reasons, right? So we talk about road mapping, using federal data to approach government contracting in a smart way all the time. But I haven't given you as much guidance, or at least tutorial on how I look at existing companies and reverse engineer what they've done. Now, the companies that I'm going to go over today, I will go over two if we have time, definitely at least one. These are just randomly picked. I have no affiliation with any of these companies. I'm just going to walk through the steps that I use to take a look at how that company has succeeded or not, and how I can apply that to my clients, how I teach our students to do this. And let's just get right into it. Now, as I'm going through this today, I'm going to share my screen here, but as I'm doing that, feel free to ask questions and I will I'll answer each question as I can get to them. All right. And then I guess I should get rid of my my name badge here if I can, because it seems to be blocking everything. Let's see here. All right. I think we're in business now. All right. So this company I found, Innovation Labs. I'm going to start with their website just to kind of walk from company to what they do, then what they have won or not government contracting wise, maybe some extra things that I take a look at as I'm researching businesses, as I'm looking at the strategies and trying to piece together things in real time. Now, again, I've never spoken with this company. I have no affiliation. So just if I was going to look at this cold, right? So if you came to me and said, hey, Rick, here are my 4 biggest competitors, this is kind of the process that I'm walking through. Or if you just came to me and said, hey, Rick, this is my company, I would probably do this before we even got on the phone. So this can help you whether you're a company selling to the government, if you're a sales executive and you want to take a look and see how some of your competitors have been selling, what could work for you, maybe some different avenues, right? Or of course, as a consultant, you have to be able to do this because you're going to have to be able to potentially work with any company. So first thing here, I mean, website looks good, right? So, and by the way, why is the website important? Because the government's going to look at your website. I did, right? It's not super important. It's not going to make or break usually, but if you just have a really generic website up and you didn't put much time into it, it's going to come across. So what do these guys do? Let's see. So, I mean, immediately when I look at this, I think tech. Now I can see AFSIM training, but so they got modeling and simulation analysis, cyber, advanced research, training and consulting. So there's kind of 4 buckets there. Of course, I prefer really, really specific. This is what we do. This is what we specialize in. Let's see here. So they have a 3-day training course. Then let's see here. They've got some awards. I like this, by the way. And I also like this for if you're putting together a capability statement for the government. You know, I'm a big fan of one-pagers, but as far as the website, really, a website that's facing public sector is something you want the government to be able to click on it and say, okay, these guys are credible. They know what they're doing. Or you're not competitors, but like potential teaming partners. So I do like this, that they've got some awards here. Well, that's interesting. All right. So what do these guys actually do? So solutions, modeling, simulation, and analysis, cyber, training, and consulting, pretty broad buckets there. Okay, so now we've got the products. So what do we do? What kind of training is this? So integration modeling for the Air Force simulation environment. Let's see here. Mission level simulation needs. Well, they're talking specific to space in here at Department of the Air Force. Okay, so they've got a way to give an information request there. Okay. iSwarm. I like the name. It enables exploration and optimization of large-scale command and control concepts. Okay. Well, that's interesting. And by the way, this is a big push in the Department of Defense right now. They're looking at something called JADC2. They change the names around every now and then. That stands for Joint All-Domain Command and Control. Just think, link everything, every data point together, you know, whether you have reconnaissance aircraft, satellites, intel, how do we get the right information to the right user at the right time, right? So that's interesting. Tech cred. Okay, they're in Ohio. That's interesting. So Ohio is also where I call it the mecca of Air Force acquisition. So that Wright Pat Air Force Base. So I'm guessing that they are, if not embedded over there, they're using that location to their advantage. Okay, so they got a couple products. Interesting. This looks like a bigger company, probably small business, but maybe a larger small business. Okay, so all right, so now we're getting somewhere, right? Again, I haven't looked at the federal data yet, but I am looking and just starting with their website, right? What does the website tell me? So it says here that they're the prime award for $46 billion Air Force Lifecycle Management contract. Okay, Dayton. So we talked about Dayton already, right? So we know they have a couple contract vehicles. Let's see. Enterprise-wide acquisition, LCMC. Full disclosure, by the way, I used to be in Lifecycle Management Center as a program manager. So just in case you're seeing me for the first time, Rick Howard, former government acquisition officer for the Air Force. I managed over $82 billion in contracts, doing a variety of things. Then started GovClose, so consulting, helping companies sell to the government. And now we run the #1 training program for sales executives, companies, very heavy on veterans and federal workers, people with those kind of experience coming through, learning government contracting, how to then go get the job, how to start a consulting business, but how to sell to the government is the core of the program, and then how we turn that into revenue. So let's see here, the success, testament to our teams. I'm just trying to get a sense of what this $46 billion contract is here. Okay, so essentially, usually when I see something like that, it means that they're going to be one of many companies on there, and they may or may not receive delivery orders on it. Again, I don't know. I don't know this company. We're just taking a look at it for the first time. So, okay, so that's interesting. Seaport NXG, okay. So they're on there. All right, why don't we now we're going to just go, so I got a sense at least of what this company does, that they're on some contract vehicles, that they're real. So now we're going to just go and we're going to take a look, and obviously I cheated. I went to USA Spending earlier. If you have any questions on how to use USA Spending, check out our other videos. Go to YouTube, just type in GovClose, and you'll see I have tons and tons and tons of tutorials on there, interviews with companies that are doing amazing things, subject matter experts, but we go into depth on USA Spending. What's great about this, remember, is that everything that the government buys, for the most part, is going to be publicly available information. The problem is, the challenge is it's sometimes not all in the same place, right? So we want to start with USA Spending because it's going to give us the obvious transactions, and I can go into further detail later about what that means or doesn't mean. But we can see here, so Infinity Labs, 41.7 million. What kind of business is it? So they're a service-disabled veteran-owned small business. Veteran-owned business. This is the one that, for those of you that are watching and maybe not as familiar with the set-asides and certifications, service-disabled veteran-owned small business, that's the one that's going to move the needle, meaning that's the one that's going to help you win some contracts, especially with the VA. All right. Now we can see their transactions over time. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see that. Again, feel free to ask questions if you need to. Now, what is interesting about this? Look, FY21, still, this is not a bad contract for your first contract, 2.3 million. Then they get a $300,000 obligation. But look at this. Then in 23, they jump up to 18.6 million. And then FY24, they're at 19.9 million. So clearly doing something right. You know, the government gets a taste of what they're doing here, and bang, bang. FY24, by the way, this remains $500,000 so far. This remains to be seen. And there's a lag, right? So we may not see the FY25 funding till well after this fiscal year ends. And this fiscal year ends at the end of September. By the way, it's Fallout fund season. Go get your Fallout funds. Should have been doing that already. All right. Who are they selling to? And we're going to get like way more detailed here shortly. They're selling to GSA. They're selling to the Department of Defense. Okay, so this is interesting. Federal Acquisition Service. This usually is an indicator that they have a GSA schedule. So I can show you how to find that out. But this makes me think that some of their purchasing is going through GSA. Federal Acquisition Service is a sub-agency to GSA. You can see GSA right here. Air Force, MDA, Department of the Army. Okay, and remember when you see GSA, especially if it's something that's military related, GSA is kind of like the only real middleman. Or I look at them as kind of a middleman, right? So they're essentially going to take the contracting actions off the hands of the government office that is trying to put someone on contract, or maybe some of it. Usually, if GSA is involved from the commercial side of things, meaning if I'm trying to sell to a government organization, the company I'm working with might have a GSA schedule. I'm usually still, though, working with a program manager, not in GSA, in the agency I'm selling to. So Department of Energy, Air Force, I'm going to talk to the PM. And then once we have our deal kind of figured out, then it might get kicked over to GSA for the contracting work. Okay, so we kind of have an idea here of the sub-agencies. It's interesting. We're also seeing the NAICS codes, computer-related services, pretty broad code, R&D, engineering. Okay, so you're getting a sense of the type of company this is. National Defense R&D. National Defense R&D, National Defense R&D, General Science and Technology. Okay. All right, so this gives us a bit of a baseline for how much this particular company has made, who they're selling to. Let's now, and it's given us the top 5 too. Let's see what happens if I click on that. Okay, so it's just giving us the top 5 down here. Now, what we can do also is we can see all of the awards for the company. All right, so if I look here, Infinity Labs, here's what I like to do. If I'm doing research on a company and I'm trying to reverse engineer how they did it, these awards, these are all contracts that were awarded to this company, but you want to make sure that you go to the date awarded. Hopefully you guys can see this. See where it says period, at least period of performance start. Now I had to go in here and mess around with the way that these were going to be segmented or distributed, right? Because originally this didn't start from the first to the last. That's what you want, though. That's what I want. So I want to know, hey, what was the first contract awarded, right? And you know, we have the funding in here as well. So just so you know, now we're looking at original contract, first contract. By the way, this is before without even clicking on these, I can start to get a pretty decent sense of what's going on here. This says Advanced Battle Management Systems. Now, that stands for ABMS, and if this is what I think it is, it would be the ABMS. There is an ABMS IDIQ. And I was the first program manager for ABMS, so at Hanscom Air Force Base. So I do know, by the way, still have not heard of this company. And this contract vehicle came after me. But ABMS, a lot of companies on there. Typically, if you get awarded an IDIQ and it's a bunch of companies, you're going to get a small obligation just to initiate the contract, right? So you see that $1,500. I don't know that that's what this is, but I strongly suspect that's what we're looking here. So ABMS, we can see here award amount, ABMS, advanced management competition details, number of offers received, 100, full and open competition. By the way, if you're following for the first time here, in USA Spending, we can see the competition, what the competition looks like for each of the solicitations. So it looks like, yeah, this is a multiple award opportunity. This is most likely what it is. It's probably that ABMS IDIQ. And full and open, so that means there was no restriction. It wasn't set aside for an SDV OSB, even though they have that certification. I can see 100 offers received, right? So that's a lot. But if they awarded it to multiple recipients, it's not that much, right? So you just gotta remember that each one of these solicitations, each one of these contracts is different, and you want to understand them. National Defense R&D. Okay, so what it looks like to me is, yes, that they're on this multiple award ABMS. So that was their first one. Okay. By the way, a lot of people get frustrated by that. I have no idea if they had received any delivery orders on it or not. Certainly isn't being reflected there, but a lot of companies get frustrated when they win a contract like that because they think it means, hey, we're home free. It doesn't necessarily, right? So it gives the government a way to buy from you in a very specific situation. But if they're not ready to, if the funding's not there, or if your solution isn't ready, then you could be disappointed. Okay, what about number 2? So that was the first one we saw. That was, I want to say in FY20, right? And so this one, though, we can see just like a week later, period of performance start for 149,000. So again, if your company did something like this, you might be looking at them to see how they did it. How do they get into the space? So this was a purchase order. Let's see, enterprise satellite communication research and development regarding enterprise optimization of satellite communications. Okay, so that's all they're giving you. 150,000. That's interesting. It's not a lot. So what are they delivering? Small business set aside for this one. Full and open competition, exclusion of sources. Look at how many offers were received. 335. What am I looking for right now? I'm looking for more information on this so I can see exactly what it is. National Defense, R&D, so it's giving me some of the codes. Here's the business again. Place of performance is Ohio, and that's where they are, at least that's what the website says. Oh, okay, look at this. U.S. Air Force SBIR Contracting Office, right? So that makes me think that this is a SBIR award and probably an SBIR phase 1 because that's a low amount of dollars. So if you're not familiar and you're a company or you're working with a company that has an innovative technology or solution, SBIR, or Small Business Innovative Research, is a group of contracts that exist to fund companies that are either modifying existing tools, equipment, technology, or maybe even creating it and moving it through the different TRL levels, the technological readiness levels. So you can go to SBIR.gov. Like there's tons of topics that usually come out. I've done multiple videos on that. So it's a great way to get funding for your business that's not like venture capital or angel investing or any of that. So usually you retain the IP. It has to usually be dual use. They're competitive, but pretty interesting. Okay, so that's what it looks like. It looks like there's their first contract. Real one is going to be that SIBR, which looked to me like a SIBR phase 1. This one is almost the exact same amount. Research and development and life cycle trades, UAM battery technology. And that's a different, this is a different topic, it looks like to me, which makes me think that they maybe have won multiple SIBRs. Look at this, Air Force SIBR Contracting Office. Okay, so again, Air Force could be related, I suppose. Full and open competition. It looks like the same-ish number of offers. It's a lot of offers. But I also wonder, okay, is this 335 offers for the SIBR topic, or is this 335 offers for, because the SIBRs usually get grouped into a release. So meaning did multiple companies win off of this? That we don't know. I don't particularly care right now. Again, we're just getting a sense of how this company got started. So we already know that they got started with SBIR, right? And they potentially are on this ABMS contract vehicle as well. Again, just taking a look here, Ohio again. Okay. Now, again, I'm seeing that. So I'm going to just assume, if I was doing research for a client, I would make sure of this, but it looks like SIBR. We could see 3 $50,000 awards could, again, be related to that. Now, if I see SIBR phase 1, this one basically, see, this one says SBIR phase 1. And with the SIBR phase 1 being awarded $150,000, $200,000 is pretty standard. Usually you might owe like a feasibility study or something, but usually with a phase 1, I'm not developing something. Again, these guys might have been doing research for that. I wouldn't be surprised if these were SBIR phase 2s, because phase 2 is going to come after a phase 1, right? And usually, I mean, a phase 2 SIBR could be for $2 million. So let's see here. Air mobility, satellite communications. Okay. Supplemental agreement for workers scope. Yeah, I'm just going to go right over here. Oh, man, we're starting to see a theme here, aren't we? So we got that SIBR office again. This is the awarding office. Competition, 76 offers received. Small business set aside, full and open after exclusion, because small business set aside. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of success in the SIBR, and it speaks a lot about this company. Again, okay, so now just reading through here, SIBR, more SIBR phase 1, research and development, evaluation, probably the same thing here. Okay, and this, see, 1.4 million, phase 2. So we're looking at a company that built, if you can't see this, we're looking at a company that has built its initial success with a lot of different SIBR contracts. Oh, and here we go. Look at this. This is interesting, guys. SIBR phase 3. One of the hardest things for companies to do is to figure out how to go from a SIBR phase 2 to a SIBR phase 3. And I guess, maybe even after, maybe it's the second hardest, right? Because usually the hardest is just trying to figure out how to get onto a government contract, period. But yeah, so they figured out how to get onto this SIBR phase 3. Really interesting. So let's take a look at this $33 million award. Now, we saw the other ones are from the SIBR office, right? Okay, and they're breaking it down here too. SIBR phase 3. Let's see, is it the same? Oh, no, so, okay, interesting. So it said SIBR phase 3, but GSA, it's going on GSA, which makes me think that a government agency used, meaning Department of Defense. So you could see how the funding agency, meaning the agency that wants this work done, this is the Air Force. Just like the Air Force awarded their SBIR contracts, but they used GSA. FAS usually stands for Federal Acquisition Service, especially when it's associated with GSA. So FAS. So Federal Acquisition Service. So they just used GSA to put them on contract. I think that's awesome. Okay, so it looks like tons of great work is going on here, and they've got a lot of different delivery orders and stuff. But what are some of the other things that I want to look at? Remember, I looked at their website. Okay, I want to know more about this company. So we could see here, we get the vision, the mission, core values, awards. Okay, what is this going to show us? Okay, well, here are the co-founder, who's the CEO? Dr. Ken Edge. I mean, so you can see they've got a staff here working on this. Let's take a look at the CEO. So the CEO, okay, perfect. Well, actually, this sets me up because what I wanted to do next is, and if you just came on, what we've done is kind of randomly found a company that is having success in government contracting and walking through the process of, hey, how can we use the data tools that are available to everybody to figure out exactly how they got their start and what kind of success they've had. This is critical. It's critical to be able to do this. Even if this company has nothing to do with what you're doing, you can take any company and do this. A construction company, you can take a social media management company, you can take a company that's renting out goats to, eat grass on people's lawns, like whatever it is that you are trying to do, you find it, you reverse engineer it. Now, I want to also understand, because this will tie right into LinkedIn. Let's take a look at his LinkedIn profile. This is the CEO, right? So, okay. I mean, right off the bat, you know that I'm going to like this CEO because they went to Air Force Institute of Technology, which tells me that they are an Air Force veteran. Let's see here. By the way, great LinkedIn profile. And it establishes credibility. It tells us the company that they have, tells us that also that they went to AFIT. He's a PhD. I wonder if he got his doctorate at AFIT. Air Force Institute of Technology, a lot of our engineers from the Air Force, they will go and they will get advanced degrees. One thing a lot of people don't know about the military is the longer you stay in, the more degrees you're going to end up with. The Air Force, but all of the services are really big on education. I feel like I barely graduated high school and then I ended up with 2 master's degrees in the Air Force. So they just keep sending you through. By the way, guys, feel free to ask questions as I'm going through. If you're having a hard time seeing anything, I'm not going to spend too much time on the LinkedIn profile here. I just wanted to now I'm just curious about his Air Force. Okay, so Chief Rapid Integration Spectrum Warfare Division. That's probably electromagnetic spectrum, if I had to guess. And okay, so he was stationed at Wright Pat. Yeah, PhD from AFIT. Okay, so the CEO is absolutely legit, and this is a profile that speaks to credibility, right? One thing I will do in addition to, I'll go and I'll look at their website. We already took a look at, their spending, and not their spending, but $41.7 million already won in a short amount of time from FY21 to 25 with huge spikes in 23 and 24. With something like this, I usually go and I'll check out FedRAMP also. If you're not familiar, and I don't know that their tools would be something that would be hosted on the cloud or not, but I will go to FedRAMP, which is a certification you would get, which basically tells the government, hey, you've gone through the cybersecurity protocols to host a software tool essentially on the cloud. There are hybrid ones as well, but you can go in here and check companies out also. I'm in the marketplace. And so you can go right down here and it will tell you, see, even up here, it's saying latest on the marketplace. They're saying this company here, DeepAffinity, is now FedRAMP authorized. RingMD is an agency review. These two are, okay, so those two are an agency review. There's different levels of FedRAMP. This is not going to be a FedRAMP. It's not going to be a FedRAMP lesson, but I can search for the company that we're looking at right here. So what was it? Infinity Labs. 0 results. Okay, so I'm not seeing them in FedRAMP, and they might not need it. It's just something that I like to check out, right? So interesting. So for those of you just joining, we took a look at a company called Infinity Labs. We looked at the delivery orders. We found that they did 41.7 million in contracts starting in 21 with huge jumps, 18 million, 23, 24. This is a service disabled veteran owned business. Great LinkedIn profile. They're obviously providing value. We looked at basically the delivery orders in USA spending, right here, we're in USA spending. And we saw that they really got their start and a lot of momentum with the SBIR program. And not only, I think one of the interesting things about them is they managed to get not only multiple SBIR phase 1 and phase 2s, but then they transitioned to a SBIR phase 3, which was, I think it was listed at like 33 million bucks or something, which is hard to do. So if anyone's in the SBIR game, you know, a lot of people are challenged with, see, here it is. This is a SBIR phase 3, and it was put on GSA, another interesting factoid. Okay, we're going to do this whole thing all over again, but now I'm going to take a different company. All right. This one, and again, I found this just as I was scrolling through doing some research. I have no affiliation with the company we just talked about or with this. So Actis, it's a procurement management solution for government and commercial use. I like this website a lot, because this is extremely specific, right? So, you know, we saw with Infinity, they do a variety of things, but I had to dig deep on that website not too deep, but I had to dig in there a little bit to find out what exactly they were offering. What were they, you know, what is their focus area? Here with Actis, so if I put my government hat on, so if I was still an acquisitions guy in the Air Force and Actis was sending me proposals or sources sought or something, responses, I might check out their website. And so here I know, so they have a procurement management solution for government commercial use. Bang. I mean, that's as straightforward as you can get, right? Your mission to provide world-class procurement automations. Okay, so aside, all you really need to know is the procurement process is hard for the government as well as for you, the business owner, or you commercially. So what we, oh, by the way, let's see here, looking at some of your, oh, Dan says buffering. I don't know if you guys are having a problem too. Pedro, if you could tell me if I'm buffering also. So if I'm having if you guys are having a hard time seeing me here, I can close down some of my other applications. Usually it isn't a problem. So, okay, acquisitions, procurement automations, very specific. I like it. The product, and by the way, so Actis, this is the product, I guess, not the name of the company. The name of the company is Paperless Innovations, Inc. So let's see here, government efficiency. So this is something that people often overlook, especially if you've watched a lot of my USA spending. Oh, appreciate that, Pedro. Great. Yeah. Thanks for everyone that's watching too. If you're just joining in, we're going through how to reverse engineer companies, the success that a company's had selling to the government. How can you take that company and then look at how exactly they got on contract and the different type of contracting paths they went on? The company we did first, we found now they've done service disabled veteran owned business. They've done $42 million in the past 5 years. Starting with SBIR. SBIR clearly is where they got their start. So we're going to look at this one in depth. Before I even go to USA spending though, they have listed here contract vehicles. And I really love that because I feel like if you're selling to the government, you should have a page, at least a page, if not an entire website that's dedicated to your federal sales. And I like to make it as close to a capability statement as possible. And I don't mean just have like a one-page capability statement. I mean, you know, think about the things that you would have on there. One of them, without question, is going to be contract vehicles. Contract vehicles tell the government that there are many ways to buy from you. and it also builds credibility. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to click on that, see what it's doing there. I'll get Pedro's comment taken off of there. I'm sure not everybody doesn't want. Okay, so these guys are on GSA. Multiple award schedule. Let's see. Is that it? You can see their sins right there. Not like they're bad sins. I mean, so financial management, professional services, electronic commerce, subscription services. Okay. Very interesting. Usually they're going to talk about who they're on contract with as well. Success stories. Let's see, who's this with? This is says they say annual workforce labor expense from annual task 5 million. Okay, it provides compliance. All right, let's just jump right in USA spending, guys. Hold on a second. There we go. All right, so what we're seeing here with Paperless Innovations, 1.6 million all fiscal years. Okay, so there's a big difference between the amount of spending here and the spending that we saw for the company we looked at first, right? Let's see, it's a business, small business, no special designations. All right, now the transactions over time. Again, this just gives us an overview, right? What was this company doing? And we can see here in 21, 345, very similar in 22, similar in 23, jump up in 24 to 568,000. Nothing yet in FY25 that's been reported, okay? And it's also worth noting, like, again, so sometimes my spidey senses are tingling when I look through government data, spending data, especially on USA spending, right? Because, well, a few things. One is, here, let me bring this through here so you guys can see this. It's 345, 355,000, 366,000, and then 568,024. But it's part of their offering is software. It might even be the main part. So just know, often when we have software as a service, sometimes there's a reseller involved. It makes it easier on the company. So if there's a reseller involved, we might not be getting the complete picture here, right? Because sometimes the funding actually, it looks like the reseller's name is on there because they're the prime in that case, right? But here, at least we could see like a buildup. So again, suspicious a little bit that there might be more on the table than I'm actually seeing. Who are they selling to? DHS, see GSA is listed, but nothing's, so well, they have a GSA schedule, right? So sometimes what'll happen is the funding, your contract's listed under GSA, but again, it doesn't mean that GSA is the one that you're really selling to. They're kind of the middleman. They're taking the contracting burden off of the main federal agency, right? So in this case, they have a GSA schedule. I wonder if anything has actually gone through the GSA schedule. And looks like most of their awards have been to U.S. Immigration and Customs, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Okay. Now let's go and see. I want to know how they get their start. I don't have the complete picture yet. So I can see some awards here from FY21. We know they have a GSA schedule. We know they have a very specific solution, right? Okay. Now again, here are the awards. And I'm seeing two main awards. Let me see here. I don't know if they're in order or not. Again, sometimes you just have to, okay, this is what I'm looking for, period of performance start. So this is this top one, software publishers. This is the first award they got. At least it's the first award they got that's listed in USA spending. Okay. So Remember, that's important. As we were looking at the last company, we saw that their first awards were through the SBIR process, and tons of them. So it gave us a very clear place of if we were doing something similar, where we might start and see some similar success. All right. It's giving us the code, software publishers, operations and support, U.S. immigrations. I'm assuming it's going to be with that acquisition support tool that they have. Transaction purchase card automated system. I'm guessing that that's probably going to be, maybe their tool helps with purchase card automation versus, yeah, because we can see, first, let's look at the competition details. Okay. All right. Well, we know it's a simplified acquisition. Okay. So that tells us something. All right. So again, very important to understand how the government buys what we sell. It almost always gets ignored. And in here, in this case, now we're looking at specific companies. So we can, after I'll do a roadmap, I might take a look at 3 or 4 competitors just to see, like, what did their path look like, right? Because there's more than one way to skin a cat, but this is how we don't guess. We look at the data available and we figure it out. So, okay, first of all, who did they sell to? U.S. Immigration and Customs through the Department of Homeland Security. They used a simplified acquisition. See, number of offers received 1, competed under simplified acquisitions. I am guessing that because they have, remember, we went to their site and there was a super specific software application that they had that helps with, acquisitions support and automation. And by the way, that is such a complicated process that they might not have a competitor, right? Or they just used simplified acquisitions in order to make it faster, eliminate some of the competition that might be there if they had not. This is interesting. Let's see here. Software publishers, IT and telecom. So again, Paperless Innovations is the name of the company. It's a SaaS product, so the place of performance probably doesn't matter. I just want to see if there's any additional information here. All right, let's take a look at, so it's a $1.4 million obligation amount. And okay, so here's what's happening. Here's my guess. My guess is that this is a SaaS solution. And because you see how these numbers are about the same. I mean, they go up slightly. It makes me think that this is a SaaS, probably annual license that gets renewed every year for about the same amount of money. That's my guess. Again, don't know this company, don't know anything about the product other than what I read on the website. All right, let's look at the latest one here. Paperless Innovations, automated purchase card approval processing system. I think that's probably again, what their software is helping with. Immigration examination. Full and open. This one was full and open competition. Only 1 offer received. Okay. So they won. Interesting. I say interesting because it was probably, anything could have happened there. The solicitation could have been written for them. They just might have something so unique that nobody else has it, right? Okay, place of performance. But do we have the entire picture here? I'm cheating. I'm cheating. I'm almost positive we don't. Okay, Carahsoft. What's Carahsoft? Why would I even look at Carahsoft? If I'm looking at a SaaS solution, if I'm looking at a company selling software licenses or software of any kind, I want to know, is there a reseller involved? And is there any extra funding happening here? And I could see here, I just did the reason I know this came up is because when I Googled Carahsoft and Actus, this came up and there's a page. Oh, look at this. And they're FedRAMP authorized, right? And we just talked about that. We looked at that for the last company. When you see an authorization like that, it tells us a few things, right? First of all, it tells us they made an investment. So they're a serious company. They plan on being they plan on being in this space for a while. They wouldn't make an investment like that if not. The government's probably wanting them to have that certification, that FedRAMP certification. And by the way, if you've ever tried to sell software to the government, often the first words out of their mouth, are you FedRAMP authorized? Are you and there's different levels. There's low, moderate, high. I think there's another one too. It can be a huge financial investment for a company to get that FedRAMP authorization. I just got sidetracked. Big thing here is I don't think that Actus would be featured on Carahsoft if Carahsoft wasn't reselling. Okay, now check this out. Remember we went to okay, so that's one critique I have for this company, right? When we went here, so this is the Actus website, got contract vehicles. When I'm looking at these federal contract vehicles, they got GSA. Here's their capability statement. Maybe we'll check that out too. But they don't have anything else that's listed there, right? But look at this now. And this is why a lot of companies will go through Carahsoft. So Carahsoft is a reseller. They can take care of some of the contract and the paperwork. That can save you a lot of time if you're a company selling or you're a sales executive selling. But also look at this. They're not just on GSA. They're on NASA Soup. They're on ITES because, I mean, of course, Carahsoft is on all of these. Need a sip of water there. I'm losing my voice. My old man voice is coming into play here. So now this company can basically say to the government, hey, you can get me multiple ways. You can get me through GSA, you can get me through NASA Soup, you can get me through ITES. And clearly they have a bunch of state and local vehicles as well. So I'd be interested to know how much of their sales actually goes through Carahsoft as well. So we may not be seeing the full picture when we take a look at this 1.6 million. It could be that plus a lot of contracting that's going through Carahsoft. That's really my only point there. And again, going back to FedRAMP, right? So now back to the FedRAMP marketplace, right? So if you want to check on a company and see if they're in the process even of FedRAMP certification, you go to the marketplace and you can just type them in here. It's, what was it called? Paperless. Actus. It's called Actus. Paperless is the name of the company. So Actus, and it's going to tell us, actually it tells us a lot of information here. So this is something I advise everybody to do when you're doing your research on different businesses selling to the government. In addition to USA Spending, let's check out the FedRAMP site. So what is it telling us? It tells us when at least when the review was, in process 23, authorized in 24. You can see it took some time, right, to go through that whole process. They're moderate level, okay. Tells you who the independent assessor was. So like if you're a company looking to get FedRAMP, or if you had something, let's put it this way, something actionable, if you had a similar solution to this company, you're now seeing that you're probably going to need FedRAMP. They got FedRAMP certified along the way. So that's now something that you have to keep in the back of your mind. This company also is on working with Carahsoft. Carahsoft is probably reselling for them. So that's another actionable step that you can take. So if you've been watching me go through all of these data points and just you're bored out of your mind, you know, like how does this actually apply? Those are two huge things that we have already discovered here. So FedRAMP and Carahsoft. We can also see who they're selling to, right? And we could see how they were put on contract, right? And it was simple. In this case, it was Simplified Acquisitions. At least the first one was. Who's authorizing entity? Okay, it's going to give us a bunch of more information here that I mean, I'd care about this if I was researching this company for a client, or if I developed something that kind of looked like this, or if I was working with them, right? Interesting. Yeah, highly encourage you guys to take a look at FedRAMP when you're researching these companies. It can tell you a lot of information. I have a whole, I have this whole stock profile where I research companies, and then when they would get the FedRAMP certification, I would buy them. I'll let you know how that how that plays out. Some of them did like phenomenal, because this, by the way, this tells us something else. This tells us that they are making a big investment in selling to the government. It's almost a degree of how serious is this company, right? So we could see that they've won contracts. We could see that they have a GSA schedule. We could see that they're with Carahsoft, and now we could see their FedRAMP status. So again, that tells us a lot. All right, I'm going to open it up now. If you guys have any questions, throw them at me. If not, we'll end this. But, I learned a lot about two companies here that I had not heard of before today. And with just a little bit of work, we started this at 4, and we've learned a lot of insightful things about both of those companies and how they got to where they are. The first one was a company. They did a lot of R&D, technical research, possibly on the ABMS, IDIQ. But we saw that company went from a service disabled veteran-owned small business, went from 0 to, I think it was $42 million over the course of 5 years. And they basically built their entire business on the foundation of the SBIR program, SBIR. They had multiple SBIR phase 1s, they had phase 2, and then they found out how to get to a SBIR phase 3. And then the company we just looked at with the paperless company, with the Actus product, they had a software tool that simplifies, automates the acquisitions process. We didn't dig too far into that. But now that company, we could see, how did they get on contract? Well, we found a couple of simplified acquisitions purchases with very low competition. But we also saw that they used Carahsoft. They're on the Carahsoft website, that Carahsoft is listing them under NASA SOUP, under GSA, under ITES. We also saw that they're FedRAMP certified. So we did learn a lot about what that company did. And so if I was analyzing them to develop a strategy for a client, I would probably be telling them, look, if you want to be serious in this space, you want to have credibility as you're approaching the government, hey, let's take a look at the different contract vehicles. Let's take a look at, what does a partnership with Carahsoft look like? What do you have to do to get FedRAMP moderate certified, right? We could see it takes a couple years. So when I tell people it takes, this is a long process, I'm not kidding. But the rewards for that, the rewards for going through the process and putting the hard work in, again, you could be like that one SDVOSB that, is now, $43 million in contracts, richer than they had before they started. So you could do a really good job. Just be prepared, do your homework before you get into it. Understand. Now, by the way, when I say understand the process, I would not just take one company and build a strategy off of that. These are going to give me hints at what was successful for them. And then if I start seeing trends across multiple companies and it matches up with the road mapping research that I do, then I have a much, much better sense of what I really need to accomplish here. Let's see here. Pedro, thank you, sir. I'm in the process of setting up my small contracting business. Yeah, no, absolutely. Pedro, thanks for coming in. As always, guys, if you don't follow us on LinkedIn, please do. You can click the notification bell, and then you'll get an update whenever we put out new content. Also, we have over 1 million views on our YouTube channel. Like, trying to make government contracting entertaining is the bane of my existence. It's dry material, but the reward for understanding it can be really great. So the YouTube channel, just type in @GovClose, GovClose. So you could subscribe to that. We drop new content every week. And then we try to be somewhat entertaining. There's some shorts that'll come out specific to the government contracting process. And we'll see here. We got one more here. Oh, Dan. Yep. No worries. Oh, so Dan, the buffering was on your end. It's all good. It's all good, man. Yeah, thanks for coming in here, guys. And we will see you. Oh, by the way, check out govclose.com if you want training. So I can see some of the students that are in our program are watching this right now. You can learn from A to Z, from not knowing anything all the way through absolute expert. The guys going through that training, seriously, some of them, I've had second and first lieutenants that have never even seen a government contract coming out of the training, and they're beating like 20-year seasoned professionals for six-figure jobs with companies. They're closing clients. They're doing really great. So if you do want some training, if you want to talk to our onboarding team, you can go to govclose.com. And yeah, I'm out of here. We'll see you guys.
After going through the course, I was able to land a client that pays me a monthly retainer to actually help them develop their business and go after these federal contracts.
I was able to get a consulting gig with a software company that currently works with the intelligence community.
Within 2 months, I had my first client. So the initial contract was for a 3-month contract for $4,000 a month.
So 27 years old, you've never worked in government contracting, you've never worked as a consultant, and you just closed your first deal, is that correct?
That's fair. And I've got a couple small projects on the side as well. So definitely something, probably my best investment I've made all year.
A cold call landed a 9-figure government contract.
Start a consulting business and a high salaried position as a account executive in public sales. So you're doing both of those things.
I'm living the best of both worlds right now.
So my name is Mike Knickerbocker. I am a naval officer that's getting ready to retire. Right now, I have 3 firm clients and 2 more perspectives. I'm able to provide value across different industries because the skill set that I learned through the course, I was able to apply my own experience.
GovClose came and it was a no-brainer. I wanted some secret sauce.
This has allowed me to live in Germany. It's a little hazy today, but we can do that. You see?
Oh yeah, dude, that's beautiful.
The content, the training, it's invaluable. It's written.
And Deb, what motivated you to join the GovClose Certification Program?
Wow. Well, I think that wanting to work with a leader in the field, someone who understands government contracting on a deep basis and has the reputation, the experience working with you and your company was a natural.
The students that graduate our program, they go on to start their own consulting firms, winning high dollar consulting clients. They go on to land high-paying salaried positions as account executives with companies that sell to the government. I'm so proud of the people that have gone through our program. And if you are considering either a job or a business, and by the way, some of our students are doing both, as I did. They're running a consulting business and they'll have an account executive job. It's transforming their lives. It's bringing true wealth to them and their families. Back to the video.